People are strange. Something strange.
Is that strange?
That is strange.
That is strange.
Wow, that is strange. This is strange.
And welcome back to another episode of Strange Sauna. Flex, Mark Carney has won. He is the new Prime Minister of Canada. As your background says, you guys are messed up right now. You know what I mean? Like, this is, it's very worse than Trudeau, people are saying. People are saying also that Trump and his 51st state rhetoric influenced a lot of Canadians to vote for the more liberal candidate. So we're going to talk about that. Also, Israel is on fire right now, and people are, talking about God's wrath. It's getting very biblical here. But there's also some occult ties here to May 1st. So I want to talk about that. We'll get into that later in the show. But first, Flex, take it away, my man. What's going on in Canada?
Well, I'm trying to choose my words wisely because I've gone through all the emotions of denial, angry, depressed,
rejection.
Rejection. So officially, Canada is dead.
Canada died. Okay,
Canada died.
I get you. Okay.
And very disappointing. It, to me, just shows that Canada is still the laughing stock of the world. And we have been when Trudeau was in, other governments were saying, look how bad it is in Canada, the UK, and Australia. Funny, it's the three things that are still under control of the monarch. But Canada had the chance for change. Now, listen, would the Conservatives made a difference? Don't know. But the last 9 years have been very bad. The last 4 years.
Right. You got to change something up, right?
Atrocious. Worst housing crisis available. Skyrocketing national debt. With Trudeau, he doubled the debt more than all the prime ministers before him had.
How long was Trudeau in, by the way?
9 years.
9 years.
9 years, yeah. Rampant inflation, homelessness in tent cities, and I've seen it. Crime, I've seen it. It's in Toronto. Like, I have a list here. It's the same list that the U.S. was going through. Just rampant just spending of money. A lot of, unfortunately, treasonous and unethical acts where the Liberals wouldn't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem was with the boomers. Now, I'm 49 years old. I could be considered that because it starts here at 55, 60. Why I'm saying that, folks, I could be considered that is because I moved out of a big city. I sold my house, took the money I made on it, bought something out here. I don't have a mortgage. I don't have any debt, got rid of all that. And I feel that's why a lot of these boomers were just like, well, we don't care because they are getting their pensions.
Mm-hmm.
They have their boats. They have their cottages. And I'm just looking right now. It is disgusting what you did because you didn't think about your kids or your grandkids. And now it's caused more division where I've seen families and friends of mine being like, what the fuck? Like, honest to God.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you don't think about what's gone on in the last 4 years, especially, or 9 years. And this is our prime minister.
Throwing up the Illuminati pyramid right there.
And there's a band that I would follow called Down with Webster. They're Canadian. One of the kids, the bass player in that band, I used to coach in ball hockey. I unfollowed them because they're like, here's the guy, like they're playing for Mark Carney. And they're like, yeah, liberal thing all the way. And they got tons of people saying, I'm not following you anymore. But it's just more division.
Right.
And what caused all this, Greg, was one thing. And if I find the poll, I'll send it to you and we can add it in later. But it's been on the mainstream media as well. And it showed a poll of what each demographic age was worried about. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the people 55 or 60 and over, the red was way higher because they're scared of Trump. When I talked about affordable housing, it was the lowest. When I talked about the economy and GDP growth, it was the lowest. When I talked about crime, it was the lowest. So what they did,
I think I found it.
Trudeau. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, you can see 60 and over is the red here. Dealing with Donald Trump is the most important factor when deciding their vote.
fucking imbeciles.
Right. Even 45 to 59, that was the second highest bucket, besides reducing their cost of living. But yeah.
Yeah.
And, a poll is very selective, but it's just a handful of people. But, it's the way it works. It's a way to tell you.
And when you watched any of Carney's, what do you call it? When they go around and see everybody. Sorry, folks.
Like public kind of just going around.
Yeah, campaigning. When he was campaigning, the elbows up.
Oh, like a chicken.
Oh, my bunch of stupid Canadian geese.
Right.
It was all gray-haired old people. It was all the boomers. It's the people that already have their house paid for. And let me remind you something, because Trudeau's government said they were going to come after people's homes, meaning that when I sold my house, I don't have to pay tax on it because there's no inherited tax and there's no tax on the difference of what it is, the appreciation value. And the Liberals have talked about that. I think that's the only way now, if they bring it in, and I can see it coming, that even with my place paid off, I still have to pay a difference of what my house has gone up in value, which is sort of like taxing on something gains. Sorry, you're getting taxed on gains that haven't happened yet. That's the only way I can see the libtards and these morons waking up, because they didn't think about their kids, they didn't think about their grandkids, they didn't think about any of that. Hence, Canada.
Right.
Is dead.
And check this out. This was back in June of 2024. So this was about a year ago, like just about a year ago.
Yeah.
And steadily throughout the year of 2024, you had 71 to 73% on average, the rising cost of living as being the top 5 issue, or the highest of the top 5 issues for Canada.
Yeah. It's very bad. It's very bad with their stupid carbon tax.
I mean, you have healthcare, you have housing, affordable access.
The king of the carbon tax and the guy that decided to put it in place and advised Justin Trudeau was Carney. So Carney has not lived in Canada for 10 years. He is almost like our version of a BlackRock with his company that he has, tax evasion and sending his money over there. He has written books on that we have to be carbon neutral. He is worse than Trudeau. Yep. Trudeau's popularity was down to 22%. So instead of having a no confidence vote, they took Trudeau out. They prorogued or stopped Parliament. They brought this unelected moron in. Actually, he's not a moron. He's very, very intelligent. He's a WEF puppet,
right?
Extremely intelligent guys. I shouldn't say moron. We're the morons.
So,
dude,
you want to listen to him?
You can find anything on this. Go ahead.
You want to listen to him on climate change?
Here he is.
He's going to talk to you about how climate change has to be integrated.
And he's married to a man.
Oh, of course.
You demanded action. And now it's time for the financial sector to deliver.
Wow, he's a robot.
To reach net zero, every country, every company, every bank, every investor, every pension fund around the world will need to make some big changes. In the run-up to COP26 in Glasgow, we have an enormous opportunity to bring climate change into the heart of every financial decision. And our plan will manage the risks from climate change while helping to seize the opportunities from a newer, greener economy. The UK has been at the forefront of innovation for centuries, brimming with ingenuity and a can-do spirit. It also houses the world's largest financial system. And by bringing them together, we can deliver the net zero world that you've demanded and that our future generations deserve.
Jeez, dude, he is such a robot. You can't just have this conversation without reading this verbatim. Or read it in a natural way. I mean, come on, dude. Like,
he's a puppet, and they've got this carbon tax that's killing people up here. And the conservatives were like, we want to take and make all these changes. And Canada's gone downhill for 9 years. And guess who was being advised? Guess who advised Trudeau the last 9 years while not living in Canada?
Mark Carney?
Carney.
Isn't he from Ireland or something? Like, he admitted he's not even from Canada?
Yes.
How's that legal?
Yes. His wife flew up from New York City the night of the election to do this elbows up dance and then flew back down. So when you look at how bad the Canadian economy and just basically Canada's become the last 9 years, that's not on Trump. That's not on the conservatives. That's on the party that's voted.
Right.
And if you couldn't see that, well, and you were blinded by the whole Trump rhetoric. And I'm sorry, but I've had it with Trump. I don't know what he's playing, with this whole 51st state thing, but there's a lining around this. Alberta, which is the province next to us, which is how Canada makes its money, literally just came out. Their premier, I love her. I wish she would run for prime minister. She says we're having a vote and we want to separate from Canada. And the province next to them could go, and BC, where I'm at. So now you're going to have the Western provinces leave. Now, maybe that was Trump's plan.
We've seen this, and maybe it is. Yes, you're right. But I'm just going to say, we've seen this in the United States so many times with like the Greater California Initiative, Greater Idaho. I mean, even Oregon. You've had all of these West Coast states. They want to split and create their own like republic because they're just sick of the West Coast or like the big cities, the big liberal cities controlling everything, right?
Yeah. For us, it's the East Coast. And, the conservatives had the most popular in votes. They broke all records. And guess what? The leader of the conservatives, the guy who we thought was going to be a new PM, he didn't even win his own riding. He'd been there for 20 years. And what they did in 2023 is they made the liberal government made his riding bigger, made it more liberal, and was bringing in immigrants. Because when immigrants come over, they vote liberal because they're getting shelter, housing. So like what they would try to do by having all these people in. So I think that's why Alberta is saying, sorry. And Alberta, the money Alberta makes, same with BC, because BC, we have coal. Alberta has the third largest oil reserves in the world, and Manitoba next to them also has a massive amount of resources. The amount of money these three provinces make pays for all the other provinces who complain about, not being greener, but you're taking the money from the oil. So we get no money from the government. When you see the graph, it's 0, 0, 0 for the Western states, provinces, and they give it all to that side. So we're in the same situation now where I think there's this division. There's always been a division. People didn't think logically. Sorry, you really messed up the future for everyone else. For me, maybe not so much, because I could be considered one of these people because I sold my house, left Toronto, thank God, and Toronto, Vancouver, and Quebec. Little bit of red. It's red, but the whole rest of the provinces were blue. But because there's so many people there, and the way it works in Canada is you vote for the person you're riding. So if I want Polyear to be prime minister, I can't go in and vote for Polyear. I have to vote for the person in my riding. So Greg is the conservative. I have to vote for Greg.
Okay.
And in that riding, you get 4 seats. You get 3 seats.
I get you.
The whole thing is kapow. So,
well, hey, I want to stick on Trump for a little bit because the influence of his rhetoric talking about the 51st state, I've heard, was highly influential on these boomers. And, we had that poll that said, the boomers were afraid of how we're going to deal with Trump. But my thing is, why would a liberal individual be better at dealing with Trump than a conservative person? Because you'd think that the conservative person would be like, well, no, push back a little bit with Trump. I'd be like, well, no, what about me? What about our country? Let's compromise.
Because they made Polyear.
Trump like, 2.0 or something.
Yes. Yes. And that's the problem. And Polyear is like, I don't like Trump. Trump even said, I don't even know who that guy is. I was like, what?
Right. Well, no, I mean, Trump admitted that he wanted a liberal, like right here, he wanted somebody liberal. He said it right here on Laura Ingraham.
The Liberal Party is going to win.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, you're right. And by having a liberal person in or endorsing it, I thought that would flip the votes a bit more.
Right.
Which I think it did with the younger crowd. It's the older crowd that already has their money, Greg. They already have their pensions. They're already taking their Social Security. They've got the boat.
Yep.
They've got the cottage.
Well,
they're like me. I bought my house for $190,000 in 1996.
Right.
I sold it for $1.2 million.
But do they not have children though? It's like,
that's why the children and everyone's like, Really? Like, you bought a house for not like the houses now that you can't afford it. The average home in Toronto is 1.2 million, which is what I
Right.
sold my house for. And it was tiny. There's no backyard, there's no pool.
Well, let's listen to Trump and his idea on the liberal prime minister.
Win now in the next election,
I don't
most
care.
likely. And they were
I don't care.
down and out.
I don't
Isn't that
care.
going to make them more hostile to us and possibly
No, I'd rather
open the
deal with
door
a liberal than a
for
conservative.
China closer to Canada, and that would really put us in a bind.
The conservative that's running is stupidly no friend of mine. I don't know him, but he said negative things. So when he says negative things, I couldn't care less. I think it's easier to deal, actually, with a liberal.
I mean, he seemed pretty aggressive, you know, trying to talk over her. Like, I don't care. It's like, dude, just relax.
There's two things at play here. And this is why it's called Strange Sauna and Conspiracies. There's two things at play here. Either he did this because he needed Canada to put this referendum in and try to separate, or the US could say, we'll take those 3 provinces and you guys can join us. You have your own sovereignty, but you're on our own economy, and the rest of Canada will just die. You know, or the other play is it's destroy us even more. And when you destroy us more, you'd be begging for the whole country to be taken by the US.
That's what I think it is.
Either way, something's happening there. So there's the plan where, you know, Trump is still, you know, a good guy. And part of me is thinking, well, maybe, I don't know.
Right.
There's no reason why he didn't like Pierre and Pierre didn't like him. They're almost the same person.
I think that's all optics, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I think that he's pretending like he doesn't like but honestly, I feel like he wants Canada to fall apart so that way he can come in and scoop it up. That's what it's all about. Yeah. You want countries to fail so that way you can come in as the savior and take over everything and be like, hey, I mean, he says it right here, you know, right here, blah, blah, blah. Quadruple in size with 0 tariffs or taxes. If Canada becomes the cherished 51st state of the United States of America, no more artificially drawn line from many years ago. Look how beautiful this landmass would be. Free access with no border. All positives with no negatives. It was meant to be. You know, like
he gets the shipping channel north of us, which is huge because that takes out China. If you take the shipping path that's north of us between us and Greenland, and there's a lot of good to that as well. Like, our dollar is like 66 cents on the dollar right now.
Well,
so like,
let me ask you about like how does the royal family play into this? Because isn't it owned by them? And like, how can you just take it over?
Believe that they're the real royal family, which I don't think they are, and that's another topic for another time. But it might be a wave of Trump waking up people, because there was, and I haven't watched it yet, and I keep forgetting, there's a documentary saying how Canada doesn't exist. And people have been like, when you watch it, it makes sense. And I saw a video just the other day where someone's saying the US already owns Canada. You just don't know it yet. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, okay, this makes a lot of sense. But they do. We don't have a military. We sell majority of our stuff to the States. They are our closest ally, you know, and maybe this is Trump's way, you know, if he's playing his 5D chess, he's trying to do something, and maybe make Carney look like he's going to fail and he'll come in and redo it, you know. But the fact that the other guy didn't even win in his own riding,
right?
You know,
dude,
like,
I think it's all
that's interference. Like, when you're lying on social media and the media about someone, when you're straight up lying about the other person, then you're cheating, and that's interference. That's rigging,
right, dude? And like, it is part of the plan in the way that I see this, but the plan is not what, you know, Q and all these people think that it is. Like, the plan, I think, is Club of Rome. It's Freemasonry. It goes back to the Illuminati, whatever you want to say. It's the one world order. It's just being sold to you in a different fashion here.
Yeah.
And he needs to have Canada first, and then he can swallow up Greenland right afterwards. Because it's like,
and then they become a superpower. And part of me this week was begging for the plan and the Q stuff to be real, you know. But I'm going to be honest, the way people are around, and I went today, took a walk, and I went to the cafe, and a lot of around my surrounding area is conservative. But you can see how I know the people that voted for the Liberals because they look happy. and I can see how
Right.
upset everyone else looks. Like really upset, like kind of just like I usually have my head up and I say hello to everybody when I take my walk. Anybody that was over the age of 55, 60, I had my head down. Because I don't want to look at you because it could have been you. But I
Right.
am in a conservative area. Our area is conservative, but it's the seats in Vancouver,
Mhm.
2 point something million people. That's what won the
Exactly.
election.
Right.
Same with Toronto and Montreal and Quebec. So
Well, and honestly, like I have a video here that I want to play. It's about this guy talking about why Trump wanted a liberal, and it's literally to make the thing fall apart. Like he wants it to fall apart, just like he wanted
does.
America to fall apart under Joe Biden because they begged Trump to come back and save everybody. Right? It's like the same thing. That's why Donald Trump can never get rid of the deep state. I just talked about this on Telegram. If you're not on Telegram, everybody, look up Strange Sonic Conspiracies on Telegram and join the chat.
Yeah.
I'm very active on there. I'm more active on there than any other platform. But I posted something that was talking about how I was just thinking, because like the approval, his first 100 days just came out, Trump's, right? And he's doing much worse than he was. Like his approval rating has dropped.
I heard.
Like he did not end the war in Ukraine in one day. Prices have not gone down. Doge is kind of a mess. It's kind of falling apart as well. Yes, it exposed some stuff, but government spending has actually gone up. So it's like you saved $2 trillion, but we're spending more than we have ever have in like the last 80 years. So it's like you're not really doing as well as you thought it would be, right? I think 100 days is bullshit. It's definitely not enough time to put a dent in anything, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like one of those milestones. But that's when I was thinking, I'm like, wow, this would be a really good time to have some attack on Trump. Like whether it be another assassination, whether it be a political thing. And guess what happened this Monday is you had a Democrat from Michigan who's like deep accent from India, by the way. So everybody's like, what? You're going to be in? He filed some impeachment charges against Trump.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so I'm going, oh, there it is. Like he needs the people to attack him in order to change the narrative back into, oh, yeah, he is not part of the deep state, right? Yes.
Yeah, to make him stronger. Like the superhero in every film, right? In the middle of the film, he's getting beat down. Will he survive? And then, the last 30 minutes of the film, that superhero comes back, kicks ass, takes no names, and,
Or there's a Deus Ex, the Deus Ex Machina. That's, Elon Musk, he changed his profile. Are you familiar with the Deus Ex Machina? What this is?
No. But I think we've talked about it before. He changed his profile picture.
Right. It's it is a video game, but it comes from a Roman play back in the day, or not Roman, but like it might be Roman. But it literally means God in the machine or God from the machine. And so it's about a savior at the very last moment in a play or in a movie where it seems like you've lost all hope. Something or someone or something like miraculous happens and it changes the outcome for the better of the protagonist of the film, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so whether that be an army comes in and saves the day, whether it be like a superhero comes in and saves the day, it's that type of thing, dude, where it looks very, very bleak until the last moment. It's the precipice thing. And that's why people in the Q movement always talk about, you got to be pushed to the precipice. Like, we got to feel the pain. Yeah. And that's so fucking Freemasonic that people got to wake up, dude. It's like, you got to walk through the dark to get to the light. Like, hello, this is you're being written through with this humiliation ritual.
Yeah. Yeah. And we are, that's a good point. We are being humiliated because at this point, I mean, it couldn't be more humiliating what Canada just did. And when I'm watching videos of other, podcast people or just on Instagram, like influencers are like, what the fuck did Canada just do?
Right.
Like,
And
what
are
you doing?
I want to be clear, like humiliation is not just like embarrassing. It's more of like a demoralization. Like you're depleted. Like you're like losing all hope because you need something to fill that
depleted.
hope. Right?
I think we all feel depleted. Like it's just like nothing has gotten better. There hasn't been one arrest, and I sent you a video on that so we can watch that later, where it's kind of like they've even said either it's three things. Trump's part of it. The cabal is just too big of a hold, which I believe if Trump is trying to do what we wanted him to do, and we're into this mental mentality of, yes, he's going to save us. I just think, especially after this week, Greg, I remember just turning to my friend and being like, we're not going to, and this is not to be a Debbie Downer, but we're not going to win this. The system's too fucking big and corrupt.
That's how I felt that's how I felt when Biden won. And I'm like,
yeah,
really?
You got to do your own thing. You got to do your own thing. Yeah.
So check this out.
You got to figure your shit out.
This guy, I don't know who this is or what show he's on. There's a cool little Yoda doll back in there, but he's talking about why Trump wanted the liberal here, okay, in Canada.
Donald Trump does more press media interviews than any president in the history of the United States. Pierre Poilievre is not talking to media. He's at his best in those clips where he rips apart dumb journalists. I don't know what's going to come in Canada, but I actually think Donald Trump now, what started off as a lark, I think he just thought Trudeau was weak and Trudeau was taking shots at him after he won the election. And so he said, hey, you're just the governor of a small state. We can do whatever. And then when he saw the overreaction, Trump just doesn't back down from a fight. And I believe that he thinks that having the Liberal Mark Carney win will lead to a quicker destruction of Canada so that it's easier to pick up the pieces.
There we go.
That's why I think he's endorsing Mark Carney, because nothing about Canada right now is merit-based. Nothing about Canada is about doing hard things. Our military is an absolute joke. Our criminal defense system, even though I work in it, isn't dealing with crime.
Military?
Our cities are completely falling apart. We're spending more money. We probably are wasting proportionately more money than the US. We're all paying 50% or more when you add up all of the taxes. Like, why would any entrepreneur come here? Trump is actually instituting policies, if people pay attention, that will make the US 10 times stronger. He's making people proud to be part of something that's specific. It's not saying just come over here and shit on my country. Just like there's been a festival of just shitting on the best countries in the world.
There we go. So it's literally what we were just talking about, picking up the pieces, right?
And I'm looking at it now being like, if you've got these three Western states, and the reason why I'm thinking something big will happen is literally the next day the premier of Alberta came out and said, we already went to the Supreme Court. We had this already settled, that they don't need 600,000 petitions to start the referendum vote. They only need 166,000. So that was passed. They're already at that number already, Greg.
Whoa.
They have it already. They don't have to do it within 60 days. They're up to 120 days they can do it. So they've changed quite a bit already, where she's like she's looking down the barrel of the camera saying enough's enough. Like, if because Trump wants to deal with this part of Canada. Trump doesn't care about the middle or eastern part. They don't give anything. All the money is made on the last three provinces. The one that I'm at, BC, Alberta, and the one next to us. So having a weaker Canada, and Canada's been weak for a while, more than 9 years. And we're weak because we are kind and we let people in. And what happened is the Liberals are always going to stay in power because they're just going to keep bringing in people. They brought in 1 million people in 1 year, here, which was devastating to us. It's just disastrous. And we're like that video that you played earlier. We're not looking for, they're not looking for people that can contribute, people that are sound mind and body. We're bringing in old farts that don't want to work, live off the system. Canada's always been a nanny state, always. It's part of the UK and Australia. Like, we want to be taken care of, and it's just like, well, you're going to be taken care of now.
Yeah.
Good luck. And the fact that Pierre didn't win in his riding, he hasn't said anything. He's kind of disappeared. I feel he just got his money. They're like, hey, man, just be a good opposition.
Right. That's what Bernie Sanders did. I mean, he wrote a couple of books.
Yeah, we don't give a fuck what people do up in Canada. So,
I honestly think that it's going to make Canada fall apart that much quicker and make it that much easier for Donald Trump to come in and sweep up the pieces, just like that guy just said.
Yeah. And, it's billionaires playing with billionaires. And what do billionaires do? They sometimes destroy a company, destroy its stocks, go in and do come in and merge or buy up a company, an acquisition. It's the same thing, folks. Right. It's the same thing. There's no difference, because the difference is they're playing with our lives, but we're not getting out of this system. I'm not trying to be a bah humbug, and a Debbie Downer. You just have to look at look at it. And, maybe it means you move to a different part of the country or out of the country. Maybe it means you change your job and work for yourself. When you're self-employed, you give the government tax. They don't take it. You tell them how much you want to give them, right? It's just little, reason why I'm self-employed, folks. I've thought ahead about this.
There you go.
I'm like, oh, okay. So we're gonna make the change.
So you did send a video about the arrests and how there's no arrests, or maybe there's arrests. I don't know.
No, it's just basically last week they were talking about it's going to ramp up because you and I were talking about it. And I loved, that was my favorite part of last week's show, is when we said that, there was this awkward silence about 3 to 5 seconds.
Yeah. We're like, hey, arrests are going to happen. And then crickets for a good.
Yeah. And we didn't purposely do it. It's just kind of like Greg was telling me, I was listening. Maybe he was waiting for my response. And
we know it's bullshit, right?
Yeah. And, I've been seeing quite a few videos on it. And I just sent you one now where it's a couple guys that I did used to follow. Now, again,
it's like Glenn Beck and Steve Bannon. So, I mean, very conservatives. But
yes.
And occult. Well, I think Steve Bannon is an occultist, or an occultist, I should say.
Well, who isn't nowadays? Listen, my soul's still for sale if you guys want it. You can find me in Peachland.
I hope you're kidding, but you never know.
I sent you that photo of me today dressed up like, something weird.
Oh, that's true. Here, let's listen to these guys.
It's the one thing they get furious about.
I'm pissed.
And Pam and Cash are as good as you get. What's the problem?
Are they as good as
your audience the same way? They're steamed.
Oh, yeah. You can do an awful lot of stuff, but until you start putting bad guys in jail, I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
And a sense of urgency. It's not like we have this forever.
No.
I mean, if Hakeem Jeffries wins in 18 months, which is not outside the possibility to raise $2 billion,
done.
They're going to impeach Trump.
We're done. So where is the DOJ? Okay, I know Cash quite well. I believe Cash. I don't know Pam. Okay, that I'm not throwing dispersions on her, but something's not right. Why aren't you unleashing? Is it the deep state has them by the throat? What is it? But it's got to be solved. You have no.
Is that a message that you think I don't want to get into your private conversation with the president, but is that something you would highlight? That?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You think there needs to be a sense of urgency about this?
What does any of it mean?
Why is Congress taking so much time off right now? Traditional 2 weeks of vacations, or 2 weeks back to constituency, they don't have town halls?
I don't know. I mean, it is.
Because collectively they're good people, but as a body,
they're horrible.
They're horrible.
Absolutely horrible. I honestly, Steve, I can't tell you. I am at a loss for DOJ, and I'm at a loss for Congress. And I'm at a loss on Donald Trump, man. Why aren't you using the bully pulpit to go after your own here? Eat them. Eat them. Tell them.
Eat them.
Oh, we're watching you. The whole country is watching you. Get to work. Do these things now. Have you seen the clock on the wall and the numbers spinning?
We're burning daylight.
Burning daylight.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I like what they're saying. I do like this this person's comment here. Hey, media, whatever. I'll tell you what it is. It's the whole movement is fake and controlled and always has been. It's not just Pam. It's Trump as well. The moment he took Miriam Adelson's donor money was the moment that he was no longer answering to the American people. They're all compromised on both sides of the political aisle. It's not hard to see either. Yeah.
It's not. And like at this point, I know people are like, well, it's only been the first 100 days. It's like, no, it's been almost 7 or 8 years where they haven't made an arrest. Like you've had this Hillary laptop. You've had Epstein. I don't know if you still have him or not. We got the P. Diddy stuff coming up on Monday, right?
Yes. Yeah. Dude, and what do you think? So I just saw Donut talking about this, about he thinks that there was the blackout in New York City when Epstein was arrested and how they had to move Epstein to a different prison. And he was saying that they got him out of the country during that blackout. And I remember we did talk about that while that happened on Pardon My American way back in the day. And we were talking about like the blackout and like, what if they got Epstein out? Because there was that footage of Epstein's plane going to like Antarctica or something, right? and then coming back, like the flight tracker, you could see it like on the mobile app of the flight pattern. And so we're like, what is Epstein's jet doing, like leaving while he's in prison during this blackout? Like, did they literally just pull his ass out? Right?
Listen, they're not going to let a guy like that testify. Even with Diddy, I'm surprised Diddy hasn't been Epstein or Epstein himself.
Well, and that's what I'm wondering, dude. Like, I'm wondering, like, are they going to do another blackout here on the 5th?
Well, they just had a major one over in Spain and everywhere, and they're blaming it on climate and the winds and everything. And it's like they're testing it slowly. Either they're testing it slowly for those that feel like we're doomed, which would be me today, or talk about Flex and Greg 4 or 5 years ago. They could be doing blackouts to grab people and do all their things and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's either or. All I know is no one's been arrested. There's been nothing. And it's not that difficult to arrest people when they do crimes against humanity, against kids and stuff like that. Like government being paid by this and slush money and the cabal, that's a little different. But if you say you have this stuff on kids, which they say they have,
right?
I don't know.
Yeah, and it's like the longer you wait, the more kids get damaged, the more people get damaged. Like, I mean, this whole sting operation thing is complete BS right now. Like, there's been so much collateral damage, and everybody's like, well, there's going to be collateral damage. We're in a war. I'm like, not your own fucking people, dude. Like, come on.
Like those that still, and I still follow some people, conservative Ant, I follow him. He's got a MAGA tattoo here and stuff like that. That's where it gets dangerous. We're like, bro, like if he's got a comment saying anything bad about Trump, he just blocks you. And it's just like, you're now part of that cult. Like you can't go, yeah, things aren't working. They want to be. And maybe the system was so shitty that when Trump came in, he'll have to spend the next 4 years cleaning it up, which is, I think, might have happened with Pierre. Trudeau really messed things up the last 9 years, and they tie you up in Congress, and for us, it's Parliament, that maybe you can't get stuff done, but you can arrest people.
It's true.
You don't need Congress to arrest people.
Yep.
Sons of bitches.
Yeah, and like, I get like the whole, we can't arrest somebody if they're part of like this whole big sting operation, one leads to, I'm like, dude, really?
Dude,
then make it a smaller sting operation and bucket it. You know what I mean?
There's no sting operation at this point. We're being stung like by hornets.
We are the operation.
We are being stung. We're just being like, oh, here we go again. Here we go again. Here we go again. And this is coming from two guys. If you don't know the two guys, Greg and myself, if you're a little slow today and you voted for Carney, we were there. We were supporting this back in the day. And it's not like, we just listen to other people. We did our research. We talk about it. We text each other almost on a weekly basis, being like, look at this, look at that. We're trying to bring you guys evidence that things are messed up and they're messed up on purpose. And it's not the purpose that we want it to be.
Right.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. And I mean, it's if you look at the big picture of, who Donald Trump has brought into office, what he's trying to do, he's not just exposing people, he's getting a plan done. I mean, if you look at the minerals operation the minerals deal that he just signed with Ukraine, this whole thing is about making BlackRock money. I mean, that's what war is about. You have countries join NATO, you force them to join NATO. Once they're in NATO, you force them to align with these American contractors or American defense contractors, the weapons specifications, and if they don't, they get penalized. That, who are they paying to build these weapons? All these American defense contractors belong to BlackRock, and then you use those weapons to blow up a country, kill all the people, and blow up all the infrastructure. So you're using all these weapons. You're loaning out the weapons. That's what they call it. And then part of that payback on the loan is the country who bought the weapons from you has to give you all of the government-owned assets, including land, farmland. I mean, you're having Bill Gates, you're having Monsanto buy up all of these, like this Ukrainian farmland, all these companies that are owned by BlackRock. And then it's like who is getting, who rebuilds Ukraine after it's all blown to smithereens? All these BlackRock owned companies. So it's literally like a big Ponzi scheme, dude. It's a money laundering scheme.
It is. It is the same playbook. They use the same playbook. Are we that daft?
Yeah.
Like, you can see it. You guys, you can see it. It's just the same playbook. And that's why I don't think there's going to be another lockdown for a while. I think they have to wait a generation, 50, 70 years, so that, my kids that were in their teens or their 20s, now when they're 60 or 70, being like, oh, 50, 60 years ago, they did this. Don't fall for this. And then the younger generation, it will be like, what are you talking about? They have to wait for time to pass because A, they can cover their tracks better. B, they can do more damage. And C,
well,
they have to, because I think we're too smart on some incidents, but it's the same playbook. Like history repeats itself. Like,
well, I just wonder, like, what happens when they run out of countries to bomb? I think that's when World War III will start, right? Because you have to, like, they're picking out all these countries to flatten out, rebuild, so that way they can make more money. But what happens if the dollar bill goes away? What happens with all this stuff, right? And you got to wonder, okay, well, if the dollar bill goes away, you still have bombs. And that's a big commodity to have. Like, you say, hey, give me your stuff or I will blow you up.
And this is all tied to the U.S. economy. It's dead. The dollar is dead, folks.
But we can still blow people up, and that's what we're doing.
So when you have a war, they can reprint money. They can reset governments. They can reset objectives. They can reset the financial system. Both sides are getting paid. I remember Henry Ford sued the U.S. government because when they ended the war, this World War II, they're like, well, hey, we were making tanks and stuff for Germany. You just lost us money, and they won. So a U.S. company sued the U.S. because of the stuff they were building for the enemy. It's just like it's that's a Ponzi scheme. You're right.
Well, and like, were they an enemy because we brought them all over and we helped them? They helped build NASA. We inherited all their.
And when you find out like how many were really burned, how much of it was disease, like to kill that many Jews, you have to do the math. Not the saying it didn't happen, but you have to do the math on it and go, that doesn't make sense. Right. And excuse me.
When the gas chambers could only fit so many people in at one time.
You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, the books that they were burning, research that. What were the books? They were books on gay and transgenderism. Like, it wasn't.
Yeah, that's the rumor. I honestly don't know if there's any proof of what they were burning. But yes, I mean, that is definitely something that people need to research. And it's one of those like locked door conversations where you go, whoa, you can't go there. Just like you can't say Jesus.
I always go by whatever they've told us.
Right.
It could be partly true, but a lot of it is not.
Right.
So
with
they
everything.
have to tell you some stuff. So that's why when they tell me how the earth is or this or that, it's like, you've been telling us this for years.
Right.
I know you've been lying to us about everything. So I look for other evidence. And again, I read stuff and I do the math. I was doing the math on all the vaccine stuff. It's like, it would take you this many years to make this many doses to give the whole world. And you did it in 9 months? No, you had this stuff done years ago.
Right.
From what I'm hearing, the vaccine was done years ago.
Well, and, I do I want to pivot here, but we were talking about burning books, but something else is burning.
Yeah.
This is downtown Los Angeles, everybody. I'm kidding. This is Israel. Israel is on fire. Yeah. So there's a gigantic fire going on in Israel, and I guess it's largely controlled now. They've had mass evacuations, but I mean, I have tons of like just pictures of this stuff here. So there's this video.
Is this the typical everything's burning, but the trees around them?
This looks like everything's burning, bro. Like the city. Yeah. I mean, this is wildfire. This is going wild.
That almost looks AI, that photo.
Right?
Those little.
Yeah, I mean, so here's some footage. Fires all over Israel, I guess, just on flames. And so people are saying this is justice for what they're doing, you know what I mean, to the Palestinians. This is like God's wrath coming out on them and all this stuff, right? And so I was reading this article on the BBC about these fires, and this was saying that the fires led to cancellation of most official events celebrating Israel's Independence Day on Thursday, which is today, May 1st.
Which is today.
Right?
Yeah.
And so this is saying that it called for a nationwide ban on lighting fires or barbecues, a traditional part of the day. And Israel authorities have provided conflicting accounts for the cause of the fire. Israeli president, which I didn't know there was a president and a prime minister, I guess, but Israeli.
I didn't know. I thought it was Netanyahu or Bahahu, whatever.
Yeah,
his name
Netanyahu, the chocolate drink, you know. Israeli President Isaac Herzog said that the fires were, quote, part of the climate crisis, which must not be ignored.
They're pushing so hard on this climate shit.
They are.
They just did it in Spain. They're like everything shut down, and they're like, it was some climate thing with the winds or.
And then so you have Netanyahu blaming the fires on arsonists, and he said that 18 people have been arrested and all this stuff, but they haven't found any links to these wildfires. So, I mean, just tons of footage of flames all over the place, right? The whole place is on fire. But this is what caught my eye, is this happened on Israel's Independence Day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was looking this up, and yes, indeedy, it is Happy Independence Day to the Jewish state here. And I believe it's the 77th birthday. And we had Donald Trump here, the White House, celebrating Israel's Independence Day on behalf of POTUS and all Americans. This is Ambassador Mike Huckabee, ultra-Zionist Mike Huckabee. He's saying that we and Americans are celebrating Israel's Independence Day and all this stuff, right? And, amidst all of these fires that are happening. And so it's, you're going, okay, well, all these fires are happening on their Independence Day. You look this up. And what's weird is that May 1st is Beltane. So traditionally held on the 1st of May, or about midway through the spring equinox and summer solstice, Beltane is mentioned as in the earliest Irish literature and is associated with important events in Irish mythology. And it's marked with the beginning of summer, and it's when cattle were driven out from their summer pastures, and rituals were performed to protect the cattle, perform crops, and encourage growth. Special bonfires were kindled, whose flames, smoke, and ashes were deemed to have protective powers. The people in the cattle would walk through or around the bonfires or in between the bonfires, and sometimes leap over the flames or the embers, right? And so it's all about this fire ritual. And you have these fire rituals as Israel is on fire through Beltane.
Now, did someone start the ritual and it got out of control, Greg?
Is Israel the sacrifice? Are they the ritual, right? And when you look this up,
I mean, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that.
And so I was looking at this, and here's a post that I found, and it's talking about the Celtic Wheel of the Year, where you have the 4 cross-quarter fire holidays. So Imbolc, Beltane, well, here, I'll just pull it up. Imbolc, Halloween, which is like Samhain, right? And yeah, it's like basically you have December 21st to June 21st, like the solstice, right? Mm-hmm. And then spring and fall solstice. But yeah, Beltane, May 1st.
There it is.
And yeah, dude, I was just like, what are the odds that you have this Celtic ritual happening and it calls for massive fires? Israel happens to be on fire on their birthday, on their Independence Day, right?
It's not a coincidence,
right? And I was looking this up.
We know how these psychopaths work,
right? Well, and I wanted to verify, so I looked this up on Wikipedia. Go whatever, like it's not a valid source, but for stuff like this. And so I was saying, like, well, wait, May 14th, 1948 was the day of Israel's independence. But I look over here, and that's that's on the Hebrew calendar. So if you go down here, you'll see that they have the date. It changes from year to year. And so for 2025, it just happens to land on May 1st.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now you can see it.
So now they're on a different calendar.
I don't know if they have been or whatever. But also, on May 1st, that's when the Illuminati was born. Right down here.
Happy birthday, Illuminati.
Right. It was on May 1st, 1776, that Adam Weishaupt founded the Order of the Illuminati, inspired by the Freemasons and the French Enlightenment philosophers. Weishaupt believed that the society should no longer be dictated by religious virtues. Instead, he wanted to create a state of liberty and moral equality, right? So, we see these ties to the United States. This was in 1776, people.
That's the same year as, when did you guys get your independence?
1776.
Yeah, see? That's
right.
what I thought.
So several months later in July. And
right,
so
July 4th, right. I knew the date, I didn't know the year.
And it was actually on July 2nd, and they moved it to July 4th. I think it was for astrological reasons because of the Pluto return and all that stuff. But that's just my own 2 cents of why they did it.
Friggin' Pluto ruining shit again.
Right.
Are you a planet? Are you not a planet? Make up your mind, Pluto.
Exactly. And so, you have all of these correlations of, you have it's Israel's Independence Day today. You have it's also Beltane, where you have Israel on fire, seemingly taking part in this Beltane ritual on the day of the Illuminati, which illumined is to light a flame.
Enlighten us.
Right. So
or light us up.
All this being connected. And then I have this video of this guy. This is Ted Ferguson, just to kind of show you who this is. So Ted Ferguson was a federal, or just an FBI guy. He was a special agent in charge of the head of the Los Angeles FBI, but he became an author and a conspiracy theorist. And some of his FBI casework included the death of Marilyn Monroe and the assassination of JFK. And he wrote this book, How to Locate Anyone Anywhere Without Leaving Home.
Great.
In later life, he researched a number of topics, notably including satanic ritual abuse. Okay. And so here is Ted Ferguson at some sort of forum, and he's talking about the foundation of the Illuminati on May 1st.
But let's talk about the Illuminati. After all, based on everything that I've been able to come up with and research, really that's the very essence of the problem in this country today and around the world, really. And it was founded on May the 1st, 1776, by Adam Weishaupt. He was a German, and the basic philosophy of the Illuminati was superior beings with superior intelligence have the right to rule those less gifted because the masses don't know what is best for them. Weishaupt organized the Illuminati to put the plot into execution. The words Illuminati is derived from Lucifer and means holder of the light.
Lucifer is who the Freemasons supposedly worship, right? According to Albert Pike and all of this stuff, right?
And who's holding the light in New York City? Statue of Liberty.
Exactly, right?
In the lie that his objective was to bring about a one-world government to enable men with proven mental ability to govern the world. He recruited about 2,000 followers. And these included the most intelligent men in the field of the arts and letters, education, the science, finance, and industry. He then established lodges in the Grand Orient to be their secret headquarters. And Weishaupt's revised plan required his Illuminati to do the following things to help him accomplish their purpose.
Here we go.
Number one, use monetary and sex bribery to obtain control of people already occupying positions in high places in the various levels of all governments.
So that's sexual blackmail, people, right? Jeffrey Epstein, the Mossad, the CIA, the intelligence apparatus, Puff Daddy.
Now.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
You know what I mean? So just keep on going. Here we go.
And other fields of human endeavor. Once an influential person had fallen for the lies, deceits, and temptations of the Illuminati, they were to be held in bondage by application of political and other forms of blackmail and threats of financial ruin, public exposure, and physical harm, and even death to themselves and to their loved ones. I ran across this book, and it's a dynamite book.
Dynamite.
I didn't author it. I've written the book, How to Locate Anyone Anywhere Without Leaving Home. And I had an opportunity to talk to Galen Ross Sr. when I went through San Marcos, Texas. And he has a brand new book that's called Who's Who of the Elite. And it identifies the members of the Bilderbergs, Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, Skull and Bone Society, and the Committee of 300. And it's a little expensive. It sells for $30. But I'm telling you, I think it's worth it. And
okay. So that is pretty much what everybody's talking about nowadays. And this was like what? Back in the early 1990, 1985 or something when he did this speech. I don't know exactly when this was. But like, and yes, he worked for the FBI. Do you trust him? I don't know. Like, take it for a grain of salt. But he was researching this stuff. And, you know, there must be members of the FBI who join and want to do good. And, like, not all members of the FBI have to be bad. Sure. Right? I don't know.
For sure. Just like not all podcasters are, you know, crazy cuckoos. We try to tell you the truth. You got to separate us a little bit.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't know. I have to dig back like more into this guy's research and like where he, you know, spent his life and what he's done and all this stuff. But I just found that matched exactly what we're seeing right now with Epstein, with Puff Daddy, with everything, right?
With everything. And that's why I'm kind of like, why make it this long for something to happen? I know you guys, you, Dave, and Chris were talking about it on the show yesterday.
Right.
Pardon my American. And you guys, I don't think any of the three of you, maybe Chris was thinking something was coming. Both you and Dave were like, nah, man, like it just, like, no, sorry. And I'm just kind of like the same way, being like,
yeah,
it's been too long.
Right.
To snatch up one or two people, you know, and go, hey, here we go. And that would be enough, unfortunately, to satisfy the MAGA movement. Not for me, because I want them all gone. I want it all exposed. But, you know, maybe Poofy or Puff Daddy is, you know, going to be the fall guy.
The magic dragon. Yep.
That's it.
Yeah, no, I think that is what we originally talked about, is that I think that there will be a minute faction of the deep state or Hollywood that is arrested, that is put on trial, that it is publicly, you know, it comes to light, and it will be enough to satiate those who have been wanting this for years. In the Q movement, in the conspiracy realm, yes. MAGA supporters.
Yes.
But it won't be enough to take down the whole damn apparatus.
And I think, you know, that was part of what I was thinking earlier when I was watching a video where they said, you know, I think either Trump and his administration is part of it, or the deep state has got such a huge control and grasp around it, you know, which I would tend to believe that's the truth. Like this is not just the US, like this is all governments, because
right.
I saw during COVID, we're like, wow, all right. Everyone's in lockstep here. I was just like, ooh,
well,
okay.
And like
I thought we were safe up here in Canada. I'm like, yeah, they won't. No,
Nope. Well, and here's the deal: is like the number one pushback you get when it comes to Trump not being part of the deep state, or like when you say he's part of the deep state too, people go, well, then why even go through this? Why have this mass awakening? Why do you have this pushback? Like, people are actually doing research, they're digging, they're trying to find all this stuff, right? And the only thing that really makes sense to me is that you have this false light system. So there's a system that is designed to fall, and Trump is coming in, and it's the rebranding of that false system. And he's going to sell you something that's still not the complete truth. Yeah. But he will expose what we have been noticing, like it's been completely obvious, right? And it's like one of those things where, you know, they tell you not to believe your eyes. They tell you not to believe what you hear. And you can only do that for so long when you're going, dude, I know what I'm talking about. There's people crossing the border. There's blackmail operations happening. They're poisoning our food. And once all that stuff gets exposed, people are going to think that it's done.
No.
Move on. We've solved the problem. But that's not going to be it.
No, they just replace the old guard with the new guard, you know. So like Trudeau is just being replaced by this whatever this Carney guy is. And so I'm just going to turn
the
my
skid
light
mark
on here. And skid mark. And, you know, we've talked about this probably the last few weeks. It's come up almost every episode where we're saying it's a rebrand that they're doing.
Yes.
Even when we've had guests on, and I always ask that question. That's the only cool question I have. He's like, hey, when we have a guest on, do you think this could be a rebrand? Like they saw a publicist, but I get to see the guests go, yeah, like they think about it and go, for sure. You know, they're just replacing one with the other. And maybe to bring us into the next system, they have to expose as much as they can.
Well, it's to build trust. It's to build trust so you follow into the new system willingly.
And divides you even more. We're more divided now because we've got the Trump supporters and those that did support Trump are divided. We're divided here in Canada now because of the election on Monday. And it's just easier to manipulate, control, put fear into people when you can divide them. Right. And when you have one group sitting on the edge of their seat being like, oh, I can't wait see the court case go on Gitmo and stuff like that. It's just like, by the time that comes, if it does come, I believe it's too late because you've just drained everything you can out of your citizens and humanity. And humanity by that time, Greg, if they're not retarded now, they're going full retard by the time that comes because we're there.
Yeah. It like to your point, though, the division, it's so easy to fall into that that primal urge of I want to see somebody get punished because they did something wrong. Yes. And when you have been fed all of this information and you're in your information bubble and you think that this one group of people is all of the problem and they are the ones to blame and we need to take them down. And once they go down, I will be so satisfied and my world will be better. It's not going to work that way, everybody. That's how you get controlled.
It's too big. They're too big and they're too powerful. And if it is going to go that way, and we said this last week, this is generational. Maybe they are trying to do something, but it's not going to be fixed in six or 8 or 16 years. I mean, the 16-year plan, we kept hearing that was Hillary's plan. Maybe it was the Trump's plan. You know, come in for 4, destroy for 4, rebuild. And then the next 4 is all of a sudden AI taking over everything.
How about this? Maybe there were 2 different directions to the plan. If America wanted to go liberal, we have this plan. That doesn't mean that there's not this other plan with Elon Musk, AI, digital currency, carbon taxes. You know what I mean? Like it's all going in the same direction. It's just going to be in a different form.
And Trump always gives us clues, which I don't get talking in code. Like he talks about how, and I just sent you the video now, where it's sort of like he's telling them, oh, these people are actors. He's been saying that for a while. And that's why it would get me going, oh, he's right. Like maybe they're all putting on a show. People actually think that this stuff was settled years ago. They've arrested people. They've put people out in makeup and costume. Maybe like, I don't even think Trump looks the same as he did before, but he's older and he's lost some weight. I get it. But they're all like, no, this is already, it's just being played out now.
Right.
And I'm like, well, you're playing it out very slowly. And you're also saying that Radcliffe is the CI director, is a good actor, good looking guy from Central Casting. And I'm like, are you telling us so are you?
Well, let's see here. So this is from the Shipwreck Show. And I know is she a big Trump supporter? Like
she's conservative. Like she's more like, hey, like.
Okay. So she's awake, but not really following into the whole, not just everything. That
I like her a lot because she's very witty and she's just to the point, like we are.
Okay,
hey,
here we go.
Something good to talk about it.
Let's check it out.
He's just finished Trump's International Day of Prayer ceremony that he held at the Rose Garden of the White House. He brought religious leaders from all different denominations there to each pray in, their own belief and to talk a little bit about everything that's going on. They sang some hymns. It was really nice. As he was going through and he was introducing everybody that was there, he said this.
I can't talk about because he goes undercover most of the time. His whole life is now undercover, but he's central casting when you get to see him. I tell you, he's a handsome guy. If I was casting a movie for the CIA, I'd put this guy in it. Director of the CIA, John Ratcliffe. Where's John?
That's a super weird thing to say. It's not the first time he's kind of brought up the central casting thing. He's done it a few other times on the campaign trail talking about different individuals. If you didn't know, central casting is an organization and they hire actors to fill in on movies. They're parts of like crowds or taxi drivers or things like that. Central casting has been in business for over 100 years. They have their own website and everything. You can go and apply to be a fill-in actor. You can go and you can request actors. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do. There's a belief out there that the federal government uses central casting for different roles within the government. What's it for Robinette Biden? Anybody? Anyway, even if that wasn't true and this wasn't all somewhat of a show, it's a weird thing to say and it's a weird thing to bring up, especially when talking about the CIA director of all the agencies you could talk about with central casting. That being said, I'm going to go make some oatmeal cookies in the church, which I call my kitchen.
Okay. Dude, I agree, but I also think Trump is part of the central casting. I think, when you look at the Q stuff and how I said that's really just they show you in advance. They have to tell you in advance, right?
Yep.
What makes a good movie? Great actors, right?
Yep.
Those posts that are talking about you're watching a movie. Okay, this whole thing is a movie, and both sides of the movie are aware of their parts. Like, they have a script. Both sides have the script, people. It's not just one side.
They do. And they have to work in tandem with each other because it causes highs and lows and friction and division and fear and promise. The promise that something good will happen, which is why I want to reach out and strangle some people who are like, no, we're going back to the gold standard. No, we're I'm like, oh God, please, just please.
Right. Well, and there's a reason why Trump is still alive. I mean, the movie must go on.
Dude didn't get shot. Sorry.
There's a reason why Trump is still alive and no one's been arrested. Trump needs the deep state in order to feed his ego, build back up his reputation when there's bad news that comes out about him. And then the deep state needs Trump because it's this struggle. Everybody loves the political struggle, and it divides people, right?
Yep. And
you get rid of Trump, you don't have
it. It's just easier to control, confuse. Look over here while they're passing or spending money over there. And then when you have that distraction, you have distraction with TV, reality shows, sports. Which is entertainment, television. It's just kind of like, they've got this so well done. They've been doing this for decades, if not centuries.
Yeah.
We're not getting out of this, guys. We're not getting out of this. You just got to do your own thing.
Yep.
You just can't.
That's true. That's why I think the happiest you'll be is if you just unplug from it all, become an Amish settler,
I literally say that to myself on a weekly basis, but then I have to plug in just so I know what I'm talking about to come on here.
Yeah.
But, I'm fine with that because I have my hour. Honestly, folks, after this hour, I go cook some food. I go put on a movie. Yeah, I get my distracted and stuff, but I also now look for things in the movies. I unwind.
Yeah.
And I don't think much about it.
Mm-hmm.
The election bothered me most of Tuesday and Wednesday. Today, not so much because it's just a system in place to keep us as slaves, and maybe the aliens are watching us and playing. It's like we're NPC characters and they're just watching us, and you got to do what you got to do and just be happy. And if you don't believe in God, have faith in something, yourself, your family, the work you do, volunteering, your community, and leave it at that.
Yeah. Make the world a better place. That's all you got to do.
But until then,
shit's fucked. Please stand by. Yeah, at least for Canada, and you never know, maybe the world. But yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much the show, everybody. So everybody up in Canada, flex, stay safe. Things are going to get wild, but things are going to get wild all over the place. Blackouts, who the heck knows is what's going to come. So If you guys like the show, hit the like button, subscribe. You guys know what to do. Go on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, leave a comment, leave a rating. It helps boost the show. Flex, any closing last words?
No, great show once again. I was very proud that I didn't go off the handle because I had a few people message me today.
I was proud of you too.
And Whitney being like, "Oh my God, he's gonna lose. Like I had a whole script, bro. I love wrestling. I took that walk today. I had the whole promo in my head to cut on here, and I'm like, okay, let's not be belligerent, but yeah, Canada, we messed up, but again, I don't know if it's a good mess up right now or bad.
We'll see.
I'm trying to see the positive and stuff, even though I just said you're never gonna get out of the system.
Yeah.
Hey, I sound like a liberal. I'm, contradicting myself.
No.
Or conservative. Listen.
Yep.
To each its own, but I think people honestly just want to be left alone, live their life, and be happy. And things have not been happy in the last bit around the entire world, not just here.
I agree. So yeah, do what you can to improve your life. Be happy. Live a happy life. Life is too short. Okay, everybody. So yeah,
say
Flex.
a prayer for Canada.
Yes,
Say a prayer for
Canada. Flex, you stay safe up there. Everybody else, we'll see you next time. Stay steamy.